Naked and exposed, Jenna quickly wrapped her arms around herself. "Why did you do this to me?" she demanded. "Why did you curse me?" Ashton's lips twisted slightly, although it was not a smile, more of a conceited smug.
"Don't you see, Jenna?" he said, his words mocking. "You are my true beloved. My blood flows through your veins, and so does my dearest Isabel's."
Jenna thought back to the words in Nicholas's journal as he told the story of Isabella Westfield and how she broke Anton's heart, not only once, but twice, and what her rejections had done to him. So far, she couldn't figure out how Isabella was linked to her. She was almost positive that there was no one by the name of Westfield on either side of her parents' ancestry. "I don't understand," she said, her eyes brimming with tears. "What does this have to do with me? What does that have to do with me?"
"Not only are you a descendant of Isabella," he began to explain, "you have the blood of my master in you. You were not born entirely human, nor just the creature I created. You are something extraordinary, something entirely other, a necromancer," he said with a calculated grin. "How else did you think it was possible for you to speak with the dead?"
Jenna's heart sank. But God gave me that gift," she said, her expression hopeless. "The angels said—"
"They lied,"
he interjected, with an acidic flash of bitterness.
"Your true father gave you this special gift, and I'm not talking about the one up above."
He made a mockery by rolling his eyes. "My father?" Jenna asked him a question. "What are you saying?"
"Your parents kept a secret from you," he told her. "They're not your biological family. You were adopted."
Jenna's mouth opened and then closed again until finally she built up the courage to speak. "Who is," she said, choosing her words carefully, "my real father?" Ashton stood there, silent for a moment, his eyes shining in the moonlight. He seemed hesitant to give her an answer, the stillness unraveling Jenna's already stretched nerves. Then he simply said,
"Lucifer."
Jenna drew in a breath, and for a moment everything went dizzy. Ashton's words seemed so convincing, and yet— "No," she said breathlessly. The ground beneath Jenna began to sway, tipping from one side to the other. Her legs trembled, and her body shook with the horror of this revelation. It all seemed like a nightmare, trapping her in a state of torment and misery. With her arms wrapped around herself, she dropped to her knees and let out a scream that sounded like shattering glass. Anton crossed the short distance to where Jenna was and knelt down with his hand out.
"Come, my beloved. Let me take the pain away."
When she looked up at him, tears streamed down her face like an endless river.
"Take my hand," he said softly, "and share this precious moment with me. Together, our powers will be limitless. We will start a new race, and it will be a powerful race that will dominate the human species and destroy all supernatural beings on Earth."
Her lips quivered. You want me to give you children?" Now he was grinning.
"Yes, my beloved. You will provide me a strong bloodline."
"No, she's not," said a voice laced with a southern accent. Startled, Ashton straightened and spun around on the balls of his feet, preparing to meet a familiar face. Although he recognized the voice, there was no one there.
"Where are you?"
Ashton called out. His eyes darted over the dark and fog-covered graveyard.
"Show yourself!"
He paused and snarled his upper lip.
"Little brother."
Out of nowhere, a faint outline of a ghostly image appeared behind Jenna. When it finally took on a corporeal shape, the figure leaned over Jenna and draped a long shawl around her, blanketing her bareness. The moment she felt hands on her shoulders, blurred memories came rushing up in a torrent flood. Memories of a man embracing a woman, touching her face intimately and softly, although she couldn't make out their features. As Jenna flinched and looked up, She was shell-shocked for a moment. The handsome face that stood above her took her by surprise. He looked at her as if some realization had dawned on him. Then, a strange sense of familiarity hung between them, as though they had met before. Perhaps many years ago, in another life. She could definitely see the resemblance between him and Ashton. They had the same square jaw, an ageless pale complexion, and ink-black hair that fell past their shoulders. Jenna's face flushed, the colors high in her cheeks, and Nicholas wondered if it was the vulnerability of her nakedness or something else. She took a breath and exhaled slowly. "Nicholas?" she murmured, pulling at the shawl so that it covered more of her exposed skin. He gave her a comforting smile that seemingly eased her in some way, but his eyes looked tense with worry. As he opened his mouth to speak, a growling voice cut him off.
"Why have you been keeping all these secrets from me, Nicholas?"
He lifted his head to meet Anton's menacing stare, realizing his brother was aware of the journal and his ability to vanish and reappear at will.
"I'm sorry, Ash,"
Nicholas said, his hands clenched at his side and his eyes filled with regret.
"I had no choice. I couldn't continue to let you do this."
"You had no other choice?" Anton drawled.
"Tell me, little brother," he raised an eyebrow. "How long have you been planning all this?"
He hissed out a breath through his teeth.
"Betrayal."
Nicholas looked at him grimly.
"That day you disappeared," he told him. "After you confronted Isabella at the cemetery. When you returned, you were never the same."
Anton gasped as if his brother had sucker-punched him and took an involuntary step back.
"So, this is your plan?"
He looked at Nicholas, his dark eyes shooting daggers.
"To have my beloved do your dirty work. It's the only way."
He slowly shook his head.
"It's the right thing to do."